History was just made by a young woman from Manila, and the figure itself is staggering enough to make you pause $75 million. The Nike deal was sealed. But get this, the second the ink was dry, Alex Eala didn't start celebrating with champagne. There was no flashy social media post. She did none of the things you'd imagine from someone who had just secured one of the most significant endorsement deals in the history of women's tennis. Instead, she chose a completely different path. It was an act that went so viral, it had people who couldn't tell you the first thing about tennis openly weeping. No one saw it coming, and no one will ever forget it. Let me know in the comments which was more impactful for you, the $75 million Nike contract or what Alex did for her mom and dad right after. First, though, we need to appreciate the sheer scale of that figure. Because $75 million is more than just a large sum of money. It's a declaration. This isn't your typical sponsorship. This isn't some minor promotional deal that gets your picture on a poster at a hometown event. We're talking about Nike, the single most dominant athletic brand in history. They sat down with a young tennis star from the Philippines and essentially said, "We are so confident in your future that we're backing it with $75 million. Confidence. Just let that sink in for a moment. Remember, this is the very company that transformed Michael Jordan into a global icon before he'd even won his first championship. The same brand that supported Serena Williams through 20 years of mastery media storms and major victories. And now they are making an identical gamble on Alexandria Eala. In terms of endorsement deals in women's tennis, a number like that places her among a very small elite group of players in the sport's entire history. Naomi Osaka, Maria Sharapova, Serena Williams. These are the icons who set the standard for commercial influence in women's tennis for decades. And joining them now is Alex Eala. What makes this all the more remarkable is her current career stage. She is still working her way up the WTA ladder, fighting through the initial stages of her pro journey and adding to her accomplishments with each competition. For an athlete at this point in their career to land an endorsement of this magnitude, it's certainly not a fluke. This signals something very clear about how the sports industry views her potential. Because a $75 million investment from Nike isn't for your past achievements. It's for the superstar they are certain you will be. That's their playbook, and their track record is strong enough that you have to take it seriously. When they gave a contract to a college kid named Michael Jordan before he played one NBA game or made a single playoff appearance, they weren't paying for his track record. They were betting on their vision of his ultimate potential. That very same principle applies in this case. Nike's decision to cut a check isn't based on Alex Eala's current spot in the rankings. They are analyzing her upward momentum, her personal narrative, her cultural influence, and the massive new market they're convinced she will open up. Industry experts have already coined the term the Eala Effect, and when you hear her backstory, you'll see exactly why that name fits. She embodies everything a worldwide brand could ever want in a spokesperson. Her talent on the court is indisputable. Her total dominance in the junior leagues was so profound that talent scouts were tracking her closely well before her professional debut. Her journey is captivating. Imagine a teenager from the Philippines moving halfway across the globe to hone her skills at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, one of the world's most prestigious tennis training centers. She faced a new country, a new language, and a completely different culture, yet she still went because her ambition required it. Then you have the cultural factor, which could be the most significant element of this entire equation. The Philippines itself is home to over 110 million people, with millions more living throughout North America and Europe, as well as the Middle East and Asia, a global community that follows Alex Eala's career with an intense personal pride that money could never buy. Every time she steps onto the court, it's more than just a game. It transforms into an event for the entire nation. People gather together to watch on their screens as social media platforms explode with activity. Individuals with no prior interest in the WTA start watching because one of their own, someone with their background, is competing on the world's biggest stage. That level of connection is authentic. It isn't for sale. It's earned through years of sacrifice and hard work. And Eala has earned every ounce of that support. Nike gets it, and apparently they get it to the tune of $75 million. But this is the part I really want you to consider, because for all the shock and awe that contract inspires, it truly isn't the most compelling aspect of her journey. It's not even in the same league. Because once the agreement was finalized, signed, sealed, and the swoosh made official, Alex's first thought wasn't for herself. It was for her parents. She purchased a house for them, not just a symbolic present, not a trip, not a new vehicle, but a home. And from what everyone says, it was their absolute dream house. It's described as roomy and beautifully designed with vibrant gardens, sunlight flooding every space, and plenty of room for those lively, cheerful, and boisterous family get-togethers that Filipino culture is so well known for. It was for a haven, a place where the people who sacrificed everything for her dream could finally let go of their worries and find some peace. The simple caption she shared with the picture hit people hard. "Mom and Dad gave up so much so I could follow this dream. Now you get to have the home and the life you've always deserved. No more stress, just calm and pride. I'll love you always." 3 words in that message landed with more force than all the others. No more worries. If you've ever seen your parents stare at the ceiling at night over finances or watched them make quiet sacrifices, they never mention those 3 words feel tangibly heavy. Because that isn't just a caption, it's a promise that has been kept. It's a child telling her parents the struggle is over. You can finally relax. People online were completely overwhelmed with emotion. The comment section was inundated with thousands of individuals unconnected to tennis, the Philippines or the WTA, but who were deeply connected to the idea of parents who sacrificed so their kids wouldn't have to. In that post, they recognized their own family's journey, and it moved them profoundly. This is exactly what it looks like when a single moment becomes bigger than the sport itself. To truly appreciate the meaning behind that house, we have to go back to her real origins, not just the start of her pro tour, but the very beginning. It all started with a 4-year-old girl and a grandfather who recognized something special in her long before anyone else did. Roberto Bobby Ayala, Alex's late grandfather, put a racket in her hands when she was only 4 years old. 4. He saw a champion's fire before it was even lit. He isn't here to witness this achievement, but there is a direct line from his hands, placing that racket, to the day his granddaughter signed a $75 million deal with Nike. That line has never been broken. Everything that came after can be traced straight back to the first time Alex set foot on a court. She takes him with her. This isn't just sentimentality. This is exactly how a legacy is truly built. And then there are her parents, Mike and Rossi Eala, who are nothing like the tennis parents that grab all the headlines. They are not yelling from the player's box. They are not seeking out the spotlight. They are the silent supporters, the ones who do the heavy lifting without ever looking for acknowledgement. And Rossi, more than anyone, comprehends the demands of her daughter's life in a way most parents couldn't, because she has already lived through a version of it. A former bronze medalist swimmer at the Southeast Asian Games, she has firsthand knowledge of what true athletic sacrifice entails. The pre-dawn mornings, the special occasions missed the unending physical and emotional strain of dedicating yourself to a sport that promises nothing in return. When Alex began to show real talent, Mike and Rossi made a joint decision. They were going to risk everything. And tennis is an incredibly costly sport. Coaching court access gear and just stringing rackets add up very quickly. On top of that are tournament fees and travel, not just locally but globally. Flights to Europe and Asia, hotels, food, and equipment, with the costs mounting every single month. The Eala family had to be meticulous with every single peso. They gave up things most other families would find impossible, and they did it with grace, never letting Alex feel like a financial strain. Then they were faced with the ultimate sacrifice. When the chance for Alex to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca came up, Mike and Rossi had to confront every parent's biggest fear. They had to let her leave, not for another city or a place they could visit on weekends. They had to see their teenage daughter board a flight all by herself to the other side of the planet, all for a dream with no guarantee of coming true. They saw her grow up over FaceTime and grainy live streams of tournaments in tiny European towns where the Wi-Fi was barely functional. They were not there for the little things, the adolescent years, the small triumphs, and the difficult days when she really needed someone there in person. They remained strong because she relied on them to be, and their belief in her never faltered, not even for a second. Alex Eala understands precisely what that cost them. She is aware of the long nights her father spent at the table going over the budget again and again to make it work. She understands the inner strength her mother needed to put on a brave face while hiding her own fears. She remembers every single goodbye at the airport, and for that reason, when the contract was signed, the house was not a splurge. It was the settling of a sacred debt. It was a daughter's declaration: "I saw what you gave up, I know the price you paid, and now finally I can give back to you." The house is said to have enough room for the entire extended family, with gardens for peaceful mornings and space for the huge parties that Filipino families throw better than anyone else. A home where her mother can finally stop crunching numbers, where her father can drink his coffee without interruption, and where the memory of Lolo Bobby can be felt in every part of the house. Now, let's return to the court for a minute, because this whole story is unfolding at the same time as her professional career is taking off. And that side of the story is crucial as well. This endorsement didn't just materialize out of thin air. Eala has been grinding away, competing at the highest levels, and building both her skills and her name through concrete achievements. She was honored as the PSA Athlete of the Year, an award that shows her influence reaches far beyond the world of tennis. Those years she invested at the Nadal Academy while other kids her age were living normal teenage lives forged something powerful within her. She came away with a sharper edge, a stronger discipline, and a readiness for the brutal realities of the Pro Tour that was far beyond her years. This contract is no charity case. Nike doesn't give away $75 million as a simple act of goodwill. They put their money on her because her performance demanded it. Her story earned it, and the market was absolutely primed for it. The Asian tennis market has been starving for its next game-changing superstar for a long time. Naomi Osaka carried that flame and kicked down doors that were sealed shut before her. But the region itself is massive, and the hunger for a hero is insatiable. Nike saw with absolute clarity that the ideal athlete at the ideal moment was standing right there. 110 million Filipinos at home, and millions more are scattered across every continent. This is a commercial opportunity that makes $75 million look like a completely logical starting point. The buzz about what's on the horizon is already starting. We're talking signature shoes and high-fashion collaborations. Imagine Filipino culture woven directly into Nike's brand, a campaign that connects Manila with Tokyo and then with New York. All of this is built on the foundation of a little girl who picked up a racket at 4 years old, all because her grandfather saw a special spark in her. At this very moment, somewhere in the Philippines, there's a young girl who doesn't own a Nike bag or have a professional court to play on. She's got a pre-owned racket and a solid concrete wall, and she just witnessed Alex Eala sign a $75 million deal and buy a house for her parents. And she now realizes something today that was impossible for her to see yesterday. That her passport can be a ticket to the world, that her own narrative can resonate with people, that the struggle is worth the reward. That is the Eala Effect, and we are only seeing the beginning. $75 million. A dream house for the people who made her dream a reality, and a tale the world can't stop talking about. Alex Eala isn't merely constructing a tennis career, she's building an entire legacy. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments section below.